Hi there guys, how you doing? I hope you're all doing really well. This is my review of Manchester City 3, Arsenal 1, the final score at the Etihad this evening. First thing to say is apologies, and I know it's not the first time I've said it throughout the course of this season, but apologies for the lack of content. I'm really struggling to keep up with Arsenal and things at the moment. It's been quite a hectic start to the new year for me, so apologies on that front. I'm aiming to get back to doing the reviews and previews ASAP. Unfortunately, kicking it off again with a disappointing result at the Etihad Stadium, has to be said. Really woeful second half from Arsenal, but I'll get onto that a little bit later. This was a game that going into it I expected very little from. In fact, I expected nothing, to be brutally honest. You've got to be realistic. This is a ground where we haven't done very well in previous years. The last good performance we had at the Etihad was a couple of seasons ago. Santi Cazorla, Olivier Giroud getting on the score sheet in what was a brilliant performance at the Etihad. Since then, it's not been particularly fruitful for us. It's not been a ground that we particularly enjoyed going to. And given how well City have played throughout the course of this season and throughout last season, they're the Premier League champions, going there in the state that we're currently in and getting anything more than a draw was unrealistic, to be frank. But given City's recent results, losing at home to Crystal Palace, losing away from home at Newcastle, I kind of had a new lease of life that we could go to the Etihad and get a result. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case, but I think it could have been. I definitely think it could have been if it wasn't for a second half where we effectively gave up, which is certainly what it felt like. I wasn't overly optimistic going into the game, as I've already mentioned, and my optimism was, my lack of it anyway, was quelled when I saw the team lineup, and we seemed to line up with a back three of Mustafi, Koscielny, Monreal, which you could argue would make sense given that we didn't have Granit Xhaka available for this game. We wanted to be a bit more defensive, drop into a back five at times, a midfield two of Guendouzi and Torreira, who I thought actually played really well. I think they did themselves a lot of credit in this game, Guendouzi especially, to go to the Etihad in his first Premier League season against the champions and play with the maturity that he did. I thought he was brilliant in this game, certainly overshadowed the likes of Gundogan. Obviously has a lot to improve on, a lot to learn, but he slotted in really well today and had a really good performance. Kolasinac at left wing back looked knackered. He just couldn't keep up with the pace of this game. And a right wing back, Stefan Lichtsteiner, who I think a lot of people are coming to the same opinion of him now, that he shouldn't be starting games. Whilst we were without Maitland-Niles, he does seem to be Unai Emery's favoured choice, and I am a bit perplexed as to what's going on with Carl Jenkins. I know it sounds ridiculous that this was a guy that, not just last season, but many seasons ago, people want to get out of the club, and understandably why. He's on a big salary. I think he's on something like 45,000 a week, and he never ever plays for us. Last season he had that awful spell at Birmingham City where he barely played any games, and he's come back into this Arsenal team just because we couldn't get rid of him last summer, and he's been fortunate enough to play some games and actually has looked good at times. I think he certainly is a player that warranted maybe. I would have liked to see him start this game, to be honest. Lichtsteiner just hasn't got the legs, and I think Jenkinson would have been a better option to start in this game. I know it's a massive call, but Lichtsteiner is 35 and just cannot keep up with the pace of the game. He just fell asleep on that second City goal. Just absolutely fell asleep. Poor individual error from what is meant to be an experienced right back. And I'm not questioning his experience or his credibility, but he's just too old to adapt to the Premier League. Whereas Jenkinson, he's played in the Premier League many times for Arsenal and for West Ham. He's still got plenty of legs in him. He's still in his mid-20s. He's got plenty of life in him and plenty to offer this Arsenal team, whilst he's currently a servant of Arsenal Football Club. So disappointed not to see him in the squad at all. And I find it mental that Arsenal media did a whole kind of spin on him where, you know, we're so proud of Jenko, he played in that game, you know, he's one of us, and they did that whole media clip of him saying he wants to work hard and give Unai Emery something to think about, and he did do that. He did give Emery something to think about when he came on against Cardiff. He was a lot better than Lichtsteiner was, and Jenkinson played about 20 minutes in that game when Lichtsteiner had 70 minutes, and today he's not even in the team. I find it weird. I find it really weird, and obviously we need to invest in a right back in the summer. Bellerin will hopefully not be out for too long for the start of next year, but we need a better right back option. Whether we keep Jenkinson, which I think is unlikely, we should get rid of Lichtsteiner because he's on massive wages in excess of 100,000, or we promote someone like Osei Tutu. So I mean, we need a better option at right back. We need better centre-half options. Mustafi, I think he's had a decent start to this season, but as the season's progressed, I think he's looked progressively worse. I don't think he was particularly good today. I don't think he covered himself in glory at all. And then moving a bit higher up the pitch, there's just no link between the midfield and the attack. Alex Iwobi, who was at fault for the first goal, just trying to play it out of danger and just completely loses the ball about 10-15 yards from goal. Just ridiculous from Iwobi, schoolboy error that. But his performance today did some okay things, tracked back quite well at times, but he's just not that link between defense from midfield and attack. You need an Aaron Ramsey there, you need a Mesut Ozil there, and with the players that we've got up top in Aubameyang, Lacazette, two of Europe's best strikers, let's be honest. When they've got the service, they are two of Europe's best strikers, but they're having to do all the work themselves. Look how they were effectively part of a midfield five today. They were dropping back and supporting Guendouzi, Torreira, and the wing backs. It was mental how much work they were having to do going backwards just to get a touch of the ball, making great runs that just weren't being spotted. And you can't help but feel that, although I don't think Mesut Ozil would have made a huge difference in this game, but one thing you can guarantee is that he's going to create chances. The same goes with Aaron Ramsey as well. Denis Suarez came on today. It's great that we brought him in, but he didn't have a particularly great debut. Not going to read too much into that at all because it's a nightmare of a scenario to come into for him. But at 1-1, when we got that goal back through Laurent Koscielny, I really felt like City were there for the taking. I definitely think we could have scored again. We had plenty of chances to. That Torreira chance really springs to mind, which was unfortunately blocked. And the number of times we bombed forward through Kolasinac, through Guendouzi, who was driving us through midfield, Lacazette, who was looking so powerful up top. You can't help but feel that if we had a Ramsey or an Ozil one at the time, he would be that player to spot that killer pass to put into someone like Lacazette and Aubameyang. And it's just so frustrating that we have one lapse in concentration through Lichtsteiner, who plays I think it was Aguero on one side, and then he makes it 2-1, and then going out into their second half, they score early on to make it 3-1. Through a goal that should never have stood. It comes off Aguero's hands, and we just give up. We give up, which is mental considering that at 2-1 especially, even at 3-1, we've got goals in this side. We do have goals in this team, and I just find it mental that our heads dropped so significantly and we just didn't try to make any sort of impact in the game. It did effectively turn into a training session at the end. We brought Mavropanos in place of Mustafi to get him some minutes. We saw Suarez. I feel a bit sorry that he had to come on into a game like this. We saw Ramsey come on, but I just don't think it was the right team lineup today. I'm really quite inclined to question why the team dropped off so heavily in that second half. That's really concerning for me. And I do worry now about where we are going to end up this season, because Man United, who we were so far ahead of at one point, are now above us. Not by goal difference, but by points as well. So that's worrying. And I do worry about getting top four. We are 3 points off it, but we've still got some very difficult away games to come. We've got United and Tottenham again, right next to each other in a few weeks' time. So it's going to be really tough getting top four. But I'm optimistic. I've got to be. We're 3 points off top. I'm not giving up at all just yet. We've got 3 very winnable games coming up. Huddersfield, Southampton and Bournemouth. That has to be 9 points out of 9. If it's not, you can kiss goodbye to top 4. And I think we've got to put a lot into the Europa League now, which is coming up very shortly. I think we're one of the strongest outfits in that competition, and I definitely think we've got the credentials to win it. But with the likes of Napoli in there, Chelsea in there as well, it's not going to be easy, but got to stay positive. Today was very disappointing in the second half, as I say, but with Holding out, with Bellerin out, with Welbeck out, with Mkhitaryan out, with practically half our team out, and with some of our best creators on the bench, this result kind of felt inevitable. But anyway, guys, not going to dwell on it too much. We've got to move forward from this, got to learn from it, and hopefully get a good win against Huddersfield next weekend. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap up there. Please do leave a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Again, apologies for the lack of content. Just hopefully we'll be able to get things up and running on a more regular basis as soon as possible. Anyway, as I say, drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, and as always, I'll speak to you very, very soon. See you later, guys.